I'm going to tell a story about a different related technology, which is the history of avatars, that actually is bound up with instruments. As it happened, my little team in the early 1980s invented avatars. We made the first virtual reality machines, which is people embedded in simulations who could see each other in a social setting, and in order to see each other, we had to turn into something, and thus was born the avatar. And ever since, of course, avatars have become a cliche of pop culture, and there's that movie about the blue aliens and all that. So the idea of the avatar has become extremely well known. And yet the science of avatars and the cultural potential of them is amazingly obscure still, because almost nobody has experienced being one. Now, I know you've experienced maybe making your avatar in Second Life or something like that, or in an online gaming world, but actually being in 3D one, where you see other people and in real space and time you're this other creature, that's a whole other thing. And it's more of a different thing than you can know until you try it. It's been deeply frustrating to me, the sort of slow motion way in which some of these technologies open up. I've been waiting for 30 years now to get virtual reality, as I understand it, out to people. Back in those days, I used to predict that 2020 or 2025 was when virtual reality would really hit for people, and I still think that's about right. So we're not there yet. But let me talk to you a little bit about the avatar experience. In the early days, and in fact, these early days continued until precisely last week, because something happened about a week ago that's extraordinary, that's changed everything. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, okay, well, you'll figure it out. All right, I'll get there. But the thing that, the problem until last week was that in order to measure your physical body to turn you into an avatar in real time required that you get into this special suit. And in the early days, these suits were incredibly inconvenient. It would take like 20 minutes to put it on, then an hour to calibrate it, and then after you used it, you'd end up with these gashes and marks all over your body, sort of like tribal markings. And these things eventually evolved into better suits, which are these days known as mocap suits, and they're used in computer special effects all the time, for like the Golem in Middle-earth or something. You have an actor wear one of these things. But they were originally used for real-time avatar control. What changed a week ago or so is there's a thing called Kinect, a consumer gadget for measuring somebody's full body pose, and it goes with Xbox. And I should disclose, I'm doing my research in Microsoft Research now, which made that thing, so there might be some bias here, but I've been working on this from before MSR existed, so I'm not really swayed by it. But the Kinect camera is this $150 thing you can buy, and it instantly will measure your full body pose. So now you can actually measure everything your body's doing without wearing one of these suits. That's never been true before. So suddenly, the avatar experience can open up. Now, why is that a big deal? In order to begin to explain that, I will tell you about a bug that occurred in our, well, I could call it our lab, but it was really a garage in Palo Alto, as it always is. Almost 30 years ago. I was an avatar, I think just something humanoid, something boring, and accidentally my hand was a mile long. You know, just one of these typical bugs. There's probably only one, you know, extra zero. I curled my finger, and suddenly this gigantic finger swooped in and swallowed me, and I was inside my fingertip. And so, you know, the first thing one thinks is, well, this will be a good story, but let's fix it and move on. But something very interesting happened. People in the garage started playing with distorted avatars and discovered something extraordinary, which is that you can be a really weirdly shaped avatar and still control your avatar body quite well. You can instantly adapt to weird body shapes. And so then we got interested in this question of, well, how weird can they get? And we started turning into all kinds of different animals and aliens and weird fantasy creatures. And some of them didn't work, some of them did. A famous early one was designed by a woman named Anne Lesko that was a lobster. And the thing about lobsters, if you've ever taken a close look at them, they have extra arms. There's these 3 little arms on the side. And there's this question, well, how would you control them with just your physical body? That's all you have to start with to control an avatar. And it turns out by pulling bits of data from different parts of your body and combining them, like just a little bit of wrist, a little bit of ankle, a little bit of hip to control, say, the middle of the middle arm joints on the left side, you could suddenly learn to control extra limbs, which is really pretty strange. Not something you'd expect. So a friend of mine, biologist Jim Bauer, saw this phenomenon, and he said, this actually makes perfect sense, because the nervous system has evolved through all of these different body shapes, through deep time, through deep phylogenetic time. The same nervous system we have had evolved to swim, to crawl, and in fact, everything in biology is pre-adaptive for evolutionary designs that don't exist yet. And in a sense, when we make weird avatars, we're putting the brain in a time travel machine for species that might evolve to be able to control in the future. Everything in biology is always pre-adaptive.